Welcome, one and all, to a very special episode of Sam's podcast. I'm Sam,
And I'm Shades.
and today we're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. Once upon a time, this was going to be a simple X-Men Days of Future Past podcast, um, but there's other stuff going on. There's Arrow, there's Thor 2, which we've both seen, which not a lot of people have seen yet.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I'm sure we'll end up talking about a million other things as well, but knowing us. But we just wanted to get together again, have a good discussion, and yeah, Shades, how have you been?
I've been good, thanks, man. Things have been fairly busy at the moment. How about you?
Yeah, not bad. It's my day off, so I'm a lot more cheerful than usual.
That's good.
Uh,
What
so
time is it at the time of this recording for you?
it's only 10 in the morning, so nice
Okay.
little wake up for me. What about
Yeah,
you?
it's 9 p.m. for me, so it's I don't have work tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be a Saturday, so
Oh,
it's very good times.
so yeah, I don't have notes next to me about anything, so I guess we'll just wing it.
Yeah, sounds good.
What should we talk about first? Shall we do X-Men first? Since
Yeah, might as
you've
well.
probably
Yeah.
had to have talked about it a million times, you probably just want to get it out of the way now.
No, I've spoken about it with people. Obviously, I did a little bit of a review of it. Just gave some brief thoughts of it on Grundy this week, and I yeah, I'm into talking a little bit more in depth about it.
Cool, cool. Well, I guess the burning question is, what did you think?
Yeah, I. It's funny. I guess I've come to really like the trailer the longer it's been out. When I first saw it, first of all, I was a little put off just because the track in it, the Hans Zimmer uh, track that's used throughout the montage of footage, and as young Xavier yells, "I don't want your future," like that track I used in a trailer that night as well, and I
The Batman
uploaded it just
Legacy trailer.
exactly, yeah, and I uploaded that just a few hours before that trailer was released. So I uploaded my trailer. I went to bed. I woke up the next morning. The X-Men trailer was out and I went, "Oh my God!" And I was actually at first I was like, "Oh geez, like now everyone is gonna watch my trailer and be like, wow, you based it off of the X-Men trailer." And it's like,
Yeah.
no, I put out mine first. But and I don't know why I'd even be mad about that because the trailer was based off of the Man of Steel Comic Con trailer, so whatever. But um, it's I didn't like the way the trailer was edited. It felt a little rushed to me, and a lot of people have said how it feels like it was sort of a fan-made trailer, and I don't really know how to take that, but I see where they're coming from in that it feels rushed. There are some pretty poor transitions there, and interesting choices of footage. So from I guess from like the editor in me, it says that's not the best trailer I've ever seen. But the more I watch it, the more I'm really into it, and I like the look of the film. I like how we have two very distinct worlds here. I really like the look of the '80s scenes. They seem or '70s rather. They look It looks very unique, and I'm interested to see what they do with that time period. And the future stuff looks, I mean, it's not very clear yet. And if there's one thing I will say about the trailer itself is that, people who don't know the comic and aren't reading up on news or anything, I think all they would really take away is, okay, something has happened in the present to make the world like need saving in the past. So they send back Wolverine, and that's about all we know.
Yeah, yeah. When I first saw the trailer, I thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. Um, it's pretty much completely because I'm really hyped for this film. Um,
Yep.
the longer it's been out, I've sort of grown indifferent to it. Um,
Mm.
it's hard not to sort of get invested when Xavier is saying, I don't want your suffering or your future. With that music playing, I agree with you that the cut to the Hans Zimmer music, which was a bit jarring.
Yeah.
You know, Patience isn't really my strongest suit. Ah!
Yeah, it is literally, there is no break there before. Like you just said, patience is my strongest suit. Ah, it's just, it goes straight into it. It doesn't give you, so like that scream isn't kind of shocking, or that it doesn't grab your attention. It's more distracting.
But actually,
So
it
like,
made me
yeah,
jump the first time.
yeah, I'll bet, yeah.
um, but in terms of, sorry, you'll have to excuse my cold again.
Every time we talk, you've
I
got a
know.
cold, man.
Well, I live in Britain where we just have
Yes.
awful cold weather, so everyone just assume I always have a cold. But anyway, the what you were saying about it sort of coming off as like a fan made trailer, um, to me it kind of felt like it was a bunch of random shots that they had shot for the film that they could show people, and they were like, "Quick, let's just get it all together." So we've got a trailer to put out there. And granted, that kind of works a little bit better considering it is a teaser. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
uh, but like if we're talking about, you know, that compared to the Captain America trailer as a film that I'm looking forward to, I'm not as excited for it as I am for X-Men, but it was a better made trailer.
yeah.
Um, so it's interesting. I'm hearing so much hate being thrown at Days of Future Past. You know, all over Facebook, everyone's saying Bryan Singer's ruining the franchise. For some, despite the fact that he made X Men's 1 and 2 the best
Yeah.
of the franchise,
Yes.
and wrote First Class. So I don't know what people are complaining about. Um, and then you've got all the comic book fans who are whining about how Kitty Pryde isn't the main character. And granted, I can understand why that would be upsetting, but like they're really like being like getting really angry about it. Um, and and then you've got people saying, "Oh, Hugh Jackman, the main character again," blah blah blah. And I can see where all these complaints are coming from, but it is a bit like, all right, guys, just like step back a second, look at the kind of beautiful shots that are in this trailer. Like it looks like the cinematography is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's because I mean Bryan Singer's cinematographer, whose name escapes me right now, is always very good.
mm,
Even like people don't have to like the film, but I think there are some really beautiful shots in Superman Returns,
yeah,
and in Valkyrie, or in the X-Men films, or Usual Suspects, like Apt Pupil. These films that Bryan Singer has done, Bryan Singer is like Nolan in the fact that he uses a lot of the same people, whether it's costume designers and editors and cinematographers. He uses these people on his films.
yeah.
John Ottman always edits,
I'm very
and
glad John Ottman's going to be doing the score again.
yes, John Ottman edits and does the score, and I'm very excited to hear his score for this, because I really like the score for X-Men 2.
Same, it's one of my
Um,
favorites.
yeah, and I also really like the score that he did for Superman Returns. I know he lifted a lot from the John Williams score, but he took things that were appropriate and put it in appropriate places. So
Oh yeah, there's the theme that plays when Clark as a teenager is running through the cornfield
yeah,
is really quite it's quite emotional.
yeah,
Really nice theme. John Ottman's a very good composer.
he is.
I have a lot of faith in him for this film. I hope he does a. It'd be nice to have a. I think everyone secretly hopes there's going to be like some kind of homage to the animated series theme, because
Yeah,
because so many people are going to go into this that have seen Days of Future Past story in the animated series, and
yeah,
so you never know. But like for the people that are saying, you know, why isn't Kitty Pryde going back in time? I think we have to look at it from this perspective. We're not. This isn't the comic. These are the films. And as far as the film is concerned, Kitty Pryde was a minor character in X-Men 3, the one that no one liked. So
yeah,
the fact that people would have expected her to have been a main character, um, like I understand from the comic idea, but she doesn't have the the connections with Xavier and Magneto. She hasn't ever had those scenes with them. So there's not really much going on in terms of the relationship between the three of them. And it looks like, people are all saying it's all about Wolverine. It looks like this movie is going to be a Magneto, Wolverine, and Xavier movie, mainly.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, on the Kitty Pryde note, like, as Kitty Pryde is one of my very favorite characters, and it disappoints me as a fan that she's not going to get the focus that she should if you've read the comic. But to your point, she is a character who was not given a lot of focus in X-Men 3, and when she cameoed in 1 and 2. When the Milk Juice guys and I did the um, commentary for Batman and Robin, we were talking about how Batgirl is, she's Barbara Wilson, she's not Barbara Gordon, um, and I was saying how Gordon has been such a useless character in these films. I don't think, honestly, making her Alfred's niece is probably a better move. Because
yeah.
then, that doesn't bring this useless character into the forefront of the film, and it wouldn't work because that Gordon's horrible. Whereas we care about Alfred, and him dying, having his niece there, I think somewhat adds to the story.
But
It's a
it's the only
shame that
time the film starts to take itself seriously.
yeah, exactly. And Batgirl, apart from Batgirl is a horribly written character, and her not being Barbara Gordon is the tip of the iceberg. But I
Yeah.
would not have made her Gordon's daughter in that film if I had the choice. I don't blame them for that choice at all.
No.
So when it comes to Kitty Pryde, as a fan of the comic and as a fan of the character, it disappoints me. As someone who, I really enjoyed the Wolverine, and I'm a big fan of Hugh Jackman, but do I need to see him as the lead character again? No, I don't. But when the trailer really makes it look like it's the final big time, adventure in this film series.
Yeah.
Um, I I think it's most appropriate, I guess, to have it be Wolverine, um, as the main character. That being said, I am a little sick of, this is the seventh X-Men film where
Yeah.
Wolverine. Well, I guess he was not the focus in First Class, but every other film besides that, he has been the focus, and I guess that's a little stale.
Yeah, no, I definitely see where you're coming from. If Wolverine weren't one of my favorite X-Men, I'd probably be really pissed off. Um,
Yeah.
I too share your pain for the fact that there's nothing going on with them and Cyclops. They're not even trying to pretend like they're invested in him. Um,
Yeah.
and on the one hand, yeah, at least they're being honest about it, and they're not just using him to be a dick anymore. Um,
Yeah.
to be a dick, to sort of have him disappear and then come back in the third act. He was never really a bad person. Um, but what kind of annoyed me was this trailer gives off the impression, like you said, it's like the big finale of the X-Men films, and when it cuts to a couple of shots from the first X-Men movie, it kind of gives you that impression that this is kind of a like a almost legacy kind of thing. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
the films have been up and down, but this has gone on for a very long time, and maybe it's time we reflected on it and just thought about it for a second, and that in itself can get you quite emotional. Um, but what annoyed me about Wolverine being the main character here is that they just announced they're going to do another Wolverine movie, and I'm thinking, oh, for God's sake, can we just leave it alone?
Yeah. I when that announcement was made, I thought, oh, God, like they can't go ahead with this. Like, surely this is like they've announced films in the past that have not come to fruition. X-Men Origins Magneto and X-Men Origins Gambit and the Deadpool movie. Like
Yeah.
all these films that they're supposedly like going ahead with that have writers that they're going to cast. Like David Goyer was set to direct X-Men Origins Magneto.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I don't know how that would have turned out. I'm glad that wasn't made just because we got the perfect young Magneto in First Class,
Yeah.
but I don't know because Jackman is so hands on, I could see it happening. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of Hugh Jackman. He's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
And I appreciate how much he loves the role of Wolverine. But I think there comes a time where he might need to hang it up. And um, if they did like an Old Man Logan type story, I mean, we got elements of that in the Wolverine, with him, not wanting to kill anymore and things like that. And I don't know, they've got the gray streaks in his hair in this film, which Bryan Singer has straight up said, yeah, that's something that we liked from the comics that we wanted to use. I don't know. Maybe we'll get the notion of Wolverine aging a bit. Maybe the what happened to him in the Wolverine actually did have a lasting effect on him.
Yeah.
Um, but I we'll see. I'm not on board for a Wolverine, 3 essentially.
Yeah,
Um,
and the funny thing is they're calling it the Wolverine. They're calling it the Wolverine 2, as if Origins never
yeah,
happened, and
yeah,
that means they'd undoubtedly do a third film, because there's no such thing as doing a second film and a third film never coming to, you know.
yeah.
But there's a I can't remember what the theory is called, but it's something you'd learn in science class or something, or maybe it's film class. I can't remember, but it's the concept of uh, the world is getting packed up with the sort of analogy is the world is getting packed up with more and more people that eventually um, they're all gonna starve to death. They're gonna all die, and then the cycle will reset itself. And I kind of feel like that's what's happening with superhero movies at the moment.
Yeah.
A million of them are being made. They're dishing them out. You know, this year in particular, we've had quite a few, and I'll admit quite a few disappointments. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at Amazing Spider-Man 2 and another Wolverine movie. And eventually, people are just gonna. There's only so many times you can pull someone into the movie theater. Um, but there's going to be a time when the mainstream audience is going to go another Wolverine movie. Fuck off.
Yeah.
And it's going to reset itself, and I personally can't wait for that. Um,
Yeah.
in a way that most not in terms of superhero movies necessarily, but in terms of movies in general, because I think almost 95%. I think I saw that statistic somewhere. I think 95% of the movies that were released the last few years were remakes. Um, so,
That's sad.
yeah, they're all being dished out at the moment, and some superhero movies are doing well. Like I think Marvel, yeah, Iron Man 3 didn't was quite the disappointment, but as we'll talk about later, we both liked Thor 2 quite a bit. Um,
Yeah.
and so there's obviously still magic there, and I don't want them to go away anytime soon because they're really that this is something special. They need to hang on to it. Um, but it. I'd like the X-Men films to be good, but there is kind of this tired feeling with all the movies now. Um, but yeah. Oh, sorry. You wanted to say something.
Um,
It's like,
oh well, just on what we're talking about now. I we are living in the golden age of comic book movies, and I'm not sure how much longer this will last. There was a time where people were saying, "Oh man, this fad's gonna die out soon," and I was like, "Really?"
yeah,
Because we got like, Thor and Green Lantern and Captain America and X-Men First Class all coming out next year. And then, the next year it was, oh, it's going to die out. And it's like, really? We got the Avengers and the Dark Knight Rises and the Amazing Spider-Man coming out next year. And,
so,
it's always the discussion like, when is it going to die out? And um, it might die out within 5 years, might die out within 10 years. I don't know. It might never die out. It might continue on and, you know, the just superhero movies are just another genre that is accepted and it's not even thought about that we get so many of them a year.
yeah,
Be
I
like
don't.
thinking about we get a lot of comedies every year. I mean, it'll just become a genre.
Yeah, I'm not particularly focusing on the genre itself. More the franchises. You know,
Yeah, yeah. Well, with the
eventually,
franchises, sorry, go ahead.
eventually someone's gonna go. another Spider-Man movie, fuck off. Another X-Men movie, fuck off. You're
Yeah.
gonna get that with the mainstream audience in particular. The comic book fans will always go and see them, and I will always be happy to go see them. Um, with Spider-Man, that's another story, but um, like it's really just like there's only so many times you can remake something and you can make a profit off of it. Eventually, there's going to be a point when they reboot, when they do the next Batman reboot, and everyone's just be like, you know what? I'm not interested now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Batman Superman will go a long way in determining how that Batman reboot will do. There've been all sorts of rumors recently. One of the big headlines on the front page of comic book movie is Dick Grayson rumored to be in Batman Superman, and
Yeah,
as a fan, I'm like, hooray! But I don't know. I That's probably not the film I'd introduce him in, but it's I'm not worried about the Batman reboot because it's Batman. I think Batman is a character that people will always be invested in.
yeah,
Um, you know, there were some people who were very vocal about their dislike of Rises, and it was still, the third most successful film of the year, only behind Avengers and Skyfall. It's I don't know, but with X Men, like, man, when they eventually reboot this, I mean, this is the franchise that helped restart the comic book genre.
yeah,
Um, and in a lot of ways, completely on its own restarted the comic book genre. It allowed people to say, you know what, we can make Spider-Man. You know what, we can make Daredevil. And
yeah. A lot of people
uh,
don't give it credit for that.
yeah, a lot of people say, oh, it's X-Men and Blade. And well, Blade was not advertising itself as a comic book movie. In fact, it has almost nothing to do with the comic book. Um, X-Men is the first X-Men film was straight up a modern telling of the comic book. People say, "Oh, how can you like the X-Men movies? They're not the comics." It's like,
Yeah.
well, the characters are still there. They're just in a modern setting, and of course, things are different. Things are different in The Dark Knight or in Batman Begins. Doesn't make them bad comic book movies.
Yeah,
Um,
I have to argue, the people that think that comic book to movie accuracy equals quality. It doesn't. I think fans are being a bit selfish when they have that attitude towards a film. They take one
yeah,
look at Days of Future Past, and maybe it could be crap, and maybe it could be great.
yeah,
But the fact that it's deviating a bit from the comics does not mean that it's gonna be crap. Like for instance, there was a picture of I think it was Warpath, um,
mm,
and he had there's a shot of him in the trailer, and he's got this kind of native Indian sort of look going on. He's got this like eyeshadow, um,
yeah,
and excuse me. There was a picture posted on Facebook. Oh bloody hell! And and then a comment next to it saying they're not doing his character justice. I'm like, you haven't seen the film yet. You haven't seen how
exactly.
they're gonna, and then someone else put this isn't a good representation of his character. I'm like, you're just looking at the fucking picture.
Yeah,
Like you haven't seen the movie just because he looks different from the comics. But yeah, like movies will have to undoubtedly change things from the comics. That's just the way things work. Um, I personally think that it's better that we have adaptations instead of simple retellings because if I wanted to see slash read the same story, I just go back and read the comic. Um, and of course, it's nice to see that stuff come to life on the screen. But I also like being surprised. I don't like knowing that who is going to bite the dust in the Amazing Spider-Man sequel, because
yeah, yeah,
all that's gonna do is make me go, well, that happened. Now we can have some originality. You know, um, you see it coming, and all the fans spoil it for everyone. Like, I don't think there's one mainstream audience member who's interested in Captain America 2 who would not have already looked at the comments and been spoiled as to who it is, because
yeah,
the fans just think that everyone knows it. Like, I hated being spoiled about the last couple of Harry Potter movies. I never read the books. I
right.
purposely went into the movies not having read the books to see if they'd stand on their own, which I do with most book to movies nowadays.
Yeah, same.
Um,
Yeah,
and someone said like I still don't want to really spoil it for people, but they'd say, "Oh, rest in peace, blah blah," and they'd have a picture of the character, and I just went, well, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And just everyone just thinks, what the hell was that?
Sorry, that was my phone. Please ignore that.
Scared the hell out of me. Um, but yeah, like there's like this sort of everyone thinks that everyone knows, and so like everyone's trying to spoil the Amazing Spider-Man for everyone. Everyone, I knew who Black Canary was before they revealed it. Um, everyone
Yeah.
everyone had said it in the comments, and I got really pissed off.
Sorry, man. Could you just give me 1 second?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Sorry, I'll be back in just a sec.
I'll entertain.
Cheers.
So yeah, would you believe that? Um, I got spoiled who Black Canary was before she was revealed, and I would have been surprised by that, and I was really pissed off. Um, but yeah, oh cool. 1 minute to impress. Oh, you know what's really what's the phrase? You know what really grinds my gears? Um, I hate the new YouTube comment system. My God, is that a piece of shit? Um, like for instance, if I go onto YouTube right now, and I could go into my inbox, but no, instead I've got this little bell in the top of the top right corner that says 4 on it. I click on it, it opens a pop-up, and I've got 4, 5 different notifications. They're all blocky, big as shit, and the writing goes beyond the box, so I can't actually see the whole thing. And I have no idea what the comment is. You know, what was wrong with the simple page where you could just read all the comments in one simple place? Now I have to go to fucking Google Plus. Piss off, Google. Like no one told YouTube that no one told Google that YouTube was a video hosting and sharing site, not a social media site. I mean, in a sense, it's a social media site, but it's a video social media site. You know, Google Plus, no one likes it. Like, some people like it, but barely anyone. It's not. You're not competing with Facebook. You need to stop trying. You need to stop. You need to take the constructive criticism, accept that it failed, and stop trying to force it down everyone's throat. Because all you're doing is making YouTube a really unhappy place to be. The fact that you've changed the comment system, the best aspect of YouTube, besides the videos. For instance, if I go on one of my videos now and I have a look at the comments, it's ridiculous. Like it's completely different. Like, uh,
I'm back, by the way.
hello, hello.
Hello.
I'm currently bitching about YouTube's new comment system.
Oh my God.
Like,
Jesus. What a load of shit.
I know. Oh,
Okay, you, Duke, and I were sort of talking about it on Twitter. Duke brought up the point of, they can't really just give up on something they've spent millions of dollars trying to, like adapt and whatnot. The thing is, I appreciate that, and I agree that they can't just say, well, people aren't liking it, let's just give up on it, because it's cost a lot of money. But they're alienating their own audience by being stubborn and saying, well, we're going to make this work, because
yeah.
it's stupid.
Like it reminds me of George Lucas putting out the special editions, and then all the Star Wars fans saying, "No, we don't like these changes. Can we have the old one back?" And instead of doing that, he just adds more changes and releases them. He releases them with more changes every 4 years. So, like, there's just that kind of attitude. It's like a 9-year-old saying, "No, I want my way, so I'm gonna keep doing it until you accept it." Till you buy me that toy. It's like that kind of attitude.
Yeah, it's stubborn childishness. There we go. That's the word. Childlike activity. Yeah. Not to change. So I just wanted to bring up something. You were talking about the Warpath photo earlier.
Yeah.
It's funny because I saw the photo of Bishop was released at Comic-Con. Funny enough, they released a photo of Bishop, Colossus, Xavier, and Magneto, and
Yes.
it was like, that's a random 4. I still don't understand it given the trailer, but My thing with I looked at Bishop and I went, damn, that looks like Bishop. That
Yeah,
is
it does.
cool. Then in the trailer, I saw Blink and I went, holy crap, she looks just like Blink. That looks great. And Warpath, I was like, it's sure, okay. But for me, it's like I'm not a huge fan of Warpath, so it's like you can make changes to that character and it's not going to really bother me.
Yeah.
And people saying, oh, they're not doing justice to the character. It's like, well, first of all, it's not a character that, you know, you have to stick to the book, stick 100% to the comics to. I mean, you can make changes to him. It's okay. And if there are giant Warpath fans listening to this, I'm not saying they need to completely change your character, but that look that he has in the film, I think is perfectly fine. If they released a photo of him dressed as, in like a purple skin tight leather suit, and it's, he's wearing Mickey Mouse ears or something, I'd go, well, that's not the character now, is it? That's stupid.
Yeah.
But
Once
what they're doing here, it's close enough to the character that people saying, "Oh, they're not doing justice to it." It's like, well, you need to wait and see the film.
Yeah.
This is just what he's wearing for now. Like the amount of people who said, "Oh, look at Anne Hathaway on the Batpod in that first photo they released. What a shit Catwoman." It's like, well, she ended up being the closest thing to the comic in that film.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And she ended up working in the context of the film in
Yeah,
terms
yeah.
of the tone it was setting up and everything. Um, yeah, like until he comes out of the bathroom, says I did a massive shit, and then reveals to everyone that he's an actor, I don't think we should be worrying.
Yeah, I mean that's the new standard. Like, remember
that's
my
the
friend.
that's the new jumping the shark.
It is, yeah. Like, if actually, that's a great point. It's the new jumping the shark in film terms. Like
Yeah.
when a friend of mine was talking to me about Thor and how excited he was. I was like, this was earlier in the year, and I said, we can't get too excited now
Yeah.
because we were really excited about Iron Man 3 and we were let down. And I was saying, well, I don't think Malekith or Loki are gonna reveal they've been actors the whole time, and it's like, well, that's true, but I don't know, it's kind of sad now that, like, as I said earlier, we're in this golden age of comic book films, and it was cool to be just super excited to see these films.
Yeah.
And I think this year has been a rude awakening where it's like, okay, we can't just. It's not a given that these films will be great. They might be fun. Like, there are elements of Iron Man 3 that are fun. I think it doesn't work as a film overall. I found Thor 2 extremely fun. There are certain story points that I will agree were underdeveloped. I had a lot of fun watching the film, though. And I know we'll talk about Thor later, but with X-Men, it is not. It's obviously not going to be the comic. It never was. Um, we had a film called. When people said to me, "Oh man, they're doing Days of Future Past. How cool's that?" I was like, "Well, I was excited to see X-Men First Class, and when that was announced, and I did not get X-Men First Class. I got, the comic that I know. I got the film that we got,
Yeah.
which is a good film, but it's not the film I wanted to see or wanted to see made. Um, and with Days of Future Past, when X-Men First Class came out, there were a lot of plot things that, a lot of just a lot of things that didn't work within the context of what was already established. Whether it was, Emma Frost being young in X-Men Origins, or
Yeah.
Magneto and Xavier meeting at the age of 17, or helping him to build Cerebro, like just a bunch of things. And I said, well, the way to fix that would be time travel. They should just do Days of Future Past. And, then when it was announced that they were, I was like, well, I wish I'd done a video on that. And yeah, so I mean, here we are now, and they're doing the original concept that I suggested to people, which was, they don't need to do, they won't do the comic, but you introduce time travel and you can sort of fix and change and do whatever. And Bryan Singer has hinted at the notion of it kind of being like a Star Trek 2009 type of deal, where they create a new continuity and a new timeline where they now have the creative license to not have to follow the trilogy, which would be fun.
Yeah,
And that might take the place of a reboot, but I guess time will tell.
yeah, yeah. It, I'm hoping that well the because I'm curious because um is Wolverine gonna get sent back into the future or the present at the end of that movie, or is he gonna stay, or is he gonna stay put? Because
Yeah,
it looks like they're using some kind of complex machine as well with a few mutants to send him back in the first place. It doesn't
mm,
look like a thing where they can just send him back and forth all the time. But um, I'm really hoping that you know stuff is changed due to this. Um, there's a part of me that's hoping, Cyclops and Jean Grey even maybe will show up at the end. Um, another reviewer on YouTube mentioned that that might have something to do with Wolverine's motivation. Perhaps it's about, maybe they could save Jean. I don't know. I'd like that not to be the
yeah,
case, because I'm kind of getting sick of him and Jean. But
yeah,
like might be interesting. But the in terms of the film itself, um, in terms of theorizing what's going to be the case, um, I reckon the whole "we need you to hope again." Um, I reckon that whole scene, because we can see in the trailer, there's a shot where McAvoy reads Jackman's mind, um, and maybe that's probably how him and Stuart communicate, because it's a telepathic
yeah,
telepathic thing, and they're both using him as some kind of a conduit to talk for the first time. And that would explain why we're not going to get a McAvoy, not McAvoy, why we're not going to get a Fassbender and McKellen scene, which would have been amazing, but can't ask for everything. Um,
yeah. I'm kind of disappointed by that because have a million ideas of how they could do, or what they could do, with a young Magneto versus old Magneto scenario of, especially with this notion of Michael Fassbender's Magneto is on a darker path and he's much more ruthless. And
yeah,
I could see him saying, look at you, you're a weak old man. You're not me. And you know, old Magneto being like, oh boy, you don't know, and like, so like, I could easily see them doing something. I think it would be
shut
great.
your mouth.
Yes, I hate you.
Don't make me
Um,
give you a spanking.
but I was wondering what they were gonna do with the uh, McAvoy Stewart thing there, because that part of the trailer is meant to be kind of like a big reveal where it's like, look at this, we get the two timelines actually getting to meet here.
Yeah,
Um, and the fact that Wolverine's the main character and that was the end of the trailer, I thought that really spoke volumes.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I'm very intrigued by this film, to say the least. On the notion of Cyclops, James Marsden was seen with Halle Berry in Montreal when they were shooting, and I was like, man, they're keeping this a secret. I guess we'll see. And then it was, James Marsden came out and said, no, I'm not in the film. But, you know, we've also had all the cast members of Star Trek Into Darkness say, no, Khan's not in the film. And, like,
that was the
I
worst
take,
kept secret on the planet.
oh, that was horrible. But, um, it's, I'm not, if I hope to see Cyclops, I probably won't get him and I'll be disappointed. But I think there's a big chance we'll see him in to some degree, whether it is just a cameo or I don't know, but I guess we'll see. And I'm holding out hope that whatever they do, if they do change the timeline and they want to start a new series, that Cyclops, Bryan Singer has said, yeah, I'm a fan of Cyclops, and he's definitely someone we want to do something with. And then he never said anything after that, which made me go, well, either they are planning something with him and they're keeping it a secret, or they've decided, no, we're not really going to do anything with him and we don't want to provide false hope. And, could be a combination of the two. I don't know. As a fan, I don't want to get my hopes up. But god damn it, I need to have some sort of hope with this character somehow because I can't read him in comics because he's not Cyclops, and
Yeah.
I'm not getting in the films because they don't care about him. And it's I don't as a Cyclops fan, I'm very up in the air.
It in terms in the logic of, let's just say he was there to shoot a scene. My theory would be that's like an end scene where you see the new improved future,
Yeah, I
where
agree.
it turns out he's alive. But um, that's just a theory. Yeah, it's funny. Just thinking now about I was listening to what a mix of what you and Captain Logan have talked about and what you and Coolio have talked about how like I agree. I'm not a fan of Halle Berry as Storm. I've come to really dislike her in the past year, just as an actress as well. She kind of
Yeah,
bugs me. Um, but what you were saying about how the most people know about Storm is that she controls the weather,
yeah.
and you can't really get very much into who she is as a character. In this trailer, what is she doing? Controlling the weather.
Oh god, yeah.
The two shots that she's doing is controlling the weather. And the funny thing is, um, when it's got those at the beginning of the trailer, it's got those slow shots that are kind of zooming in. She looks so awkward in the role.
She looks so stupid.
She
Um,
she she looks ridiculous. And she didn't even say anything, and she looked wrong. Um,
yeah, it's really man when they released that first photo of her and she had that short hair, I was like, Jesus, like her hair is getting worse,
I know. Well,
and
apparently she hated the hair from the first film, and she wanted it to eventually become what it is in Days of Future Past. So they gradually built it up with each movie, which is
I
stupid.
mean, her hair looks fine in X-Men 2. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's an awkward wig. It's funny because it's the exact same thing as China White in Arrow. They
Right.
have that awkward, like bob fringe, awkwardly long wig.
Yeah.
And then in the second film slash season 2 of Arrow, like they get the wavy, normal hair looking wig. And then, I hope Arrow doesn't continue this trend, but in X-Men 3, we get this like Halle Berry-esque short, stylish hair, which just does not suit Storm at all.
Nope.
And then with this film, it's like it's just weird short,
Yeah.
like Halle Berry's actual hair.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, my friend, like my brother looked at that and said, "Oh, she kind of looks like Future Storm." And I was like, "Well, no, Future Storm has a mohawk."
Yeah.
Like,
That's not a mohawk. Like I've heard
yeah,
other people say that, and I'm like, no, look at it again. That's not a mohawk. Uh,
exactly. Like, and it's so that's disappointing. And it's like, not that I'm expecting to not be disappointed by Storm in this franchise, but it's like I don't know. I'm really over Halle Berry in a lot of ways, and when she was announced as coming back for Storm, I couldn't. I was like, God, you know, uh, are we not done trying to make her an integral character? Because
yeah.
it's yeah,
Like that's the funny thing. With Cyclops, they eventually just killed him off. But with Storm, we still have to. She's the one character that no one likes, and she still has
yeah.
to be around. Um,
And the people that do like her, that I don't want to say that they're wrong. It's their opinion, but like they don't know why they like her.
yeah,
Like the only reason they like her, oh, she controls the weather. She's Halle Berry. Like
yeah,
there is no depth at all to that character.
yeah. What was I going to say? I was going to say something just a second ago.
While you're thinking of that, I just want to bring
Yeah,
up
go on.
something as well. This trailer was exactly the same as the Comic Con trailer, except for the music.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw you said that, and I can't remember. I never noticed the difference.
yeah, the the Comic Con trailer used Hans Zimmer's Time. And Time is a track from the Inception soundtrack, and they do a knockoff version of it at the end of this trailer. I guess John Ottman did a version of it because they liked the ending of it so much. But instead, for the beginning of this trailer, they used music from the X-Men Origins Wolverine trailer,
Yeah,
which is very awkward. But it's funny. It's just I think that trailer works really well for a Comic-Con trailer where, the hardcore fans are getting their first look. But I don't know if that was the right trailer to release to the general public. I would have done something that was a little bit more in depth in terms of what the story is, because like you're showing it to comic book fans, and yeah, they know Days of Future Past, they know Sentinels are going to be in this film, so they know why the future, or they have at least an idea of why the future is the way it is. The general public, like, why are times so hard for the X-Men? Last we saw, it was an optimistic future. Even though Jean had died and destroyed a whole bunch of people, the film, for whatever reason, made you believe, oh, the mutants are in a better place now.
Yeah. Um,
Maybe Bryan Singer saw that and went, well, that makes no fucking sense. And it's like, I don't know, but I don't think that this was the right trailer to release to the public.
yeah.
As for people who don't know anything about the X-Men besides the films.
Yeah. Well, it would be interesting if he actually doesn't, if he doesn't actually completely ignore X-Men 3 and he says, you know what, this is what would be a realistic outcome from, millions of mutants just killing, just going on a basic slaughter and destroying this cure. Like, the thing should be worse than ever after that massive battle.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I was going to say earlier is, I don't know if you ever saw it, but it was on the Comic Con discussion with all the cast. Well, most of them,
Yeah.
basically. Um,
Oh, Halle Berry.
and yeah, there was a really awkward moment where Halle Berry
Man,
goes.
that moment.
The thing I love about Storm is also the thing that I hate is that nobody likes Storm, and there's just this awkward silence, and then she's just
Yeah.
like I love Storm. Does everyone love Storm? And you just hear like,
The other awkward moment as well there was that she says, I don't get it. Is Storm asexual because she doesn't have any romances? Meanwhile, everyone in the audience is yelling out Black Panther, and
uh,
and even the dude hosting the panel goes Black Panther, and she's still like acting as if she's looking at like Hugh Jackman and everyone going, what's going on? Like, why does she have a romance? And it's like, oh, you dumb, like, oh god. And I don't expect her to know about Storm in the comics, but if you don't know the character, then don't make that sort of comment
yeah,
at Comic Con.
don't pretend like you know her better than everyone else does, and that's why you like her more. You only like her because you're in the role.
Because she's cashing your paychecks. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, for example, if I was cast in a movie as
if you were cast as Storm.
if I well, I mean, I understand. Like, if I was cast as like the Green Hornet, a character I know basically absolutely nothing about, I
Right.
would not say something like, does I don't get it. Why doesn't the Green Hornet have any romances? Because I have no idea if he does. I
Yeah.
have no idea if he has a main love interest. I don't know if he has his Lois Lane or whatever. Like, I have no idea. So
Yeah,
I would not make that sort of assumption.
she's only thinking about it in terms of the movies. Like, oh, Storm
Yeah.
hasn't had a romance in the movies, so that means she's never had a romance. She's not thinking about the character in the broad scheme of things. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like when she made that, when she said that, when she said no one likes Storm, I kind of said, I wasn't with anyone, but I kind of said to the screen, that's kind of your fault, Hallie.
Yes.
You're the problem.
Like, you're the one person who, it has the ability. I shouldn't say the one person. I guess writers and directors and that have the ability
Yeah.
to, but as the person that we visually see as the character, she has the power to make her likable or dislikable or popular or unpopular.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman has, I think, has done big things to make Wolverine a popular character, and he already was.
Yeah.
Xavier and Magneto, in animated series, their voices now forever will sound somewhat like Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. That's just how it is. Like, they've had that sort of influence.
Yeah.
Also with Wolverine, like, in like Wolverine the X-Men, Wolverine is not short. He is not his usual frame. in terms of height. Like, Hugh Jackman is a tall son of a gun, and that will forever have an impact on the character.
That's another annoying thing. Like people are also complaining about how he's too tall. I'm like, really, really?
It's been like
The
that for
guy,
14 years.
the,
Like,
the guy who,
that's
the guy who's like who's just born to play this role. He plays it absolutely fine, really good. He's too tall. Get over yourselves.
yeah. I mean, it's like why that's this. I was gonna say this earlier as well when people are complaining about stuff like, you know, I'm kind of done complaining about like Cyclops and his place in the X-Men, because it's
Yeah.
like, I've been complaining since 2006 about how poorly he's been treated. Nothing's gonna change the more
Yeah.
I speak up. So like, why should I even bother anymore?
Yeah, and that like I responded to a few comments, complaining, and I just basically said, "Do you realize how late you guys are in complaining about all this stuff? Like you've
Yeah,
had years to get used to this stuff. Nothing major here has changed.
yeah,
Wolverine's still very focused on, um, Cyclops is still gone. Like I saw no one complaining about this stuff when they heard that First Class was gonna come out, and I didn't hear anyone complaining when they saw the trailer for the Wolverine. Um, like they're all saying, "Oh, just give the rights back to Marvel and all that kind of stuff."
yeah. I'm so sick of
Uh,
that. Yeah,
and like and also like I have to briefly mention, everyone keeps saying, "Oh, give them back to Marvel because they respect their characters." Um,
yeah,
yeah, like on the one hand, yeah, Marvel embracing their sort of, I guess you could say, campy tone, which I don't think is campy, but to a mainstream audience, Thor Once Upon a Time looked like, the gayest thing ever. Is what a mainstream audience would probably use that phrase. As to what Thor or someone like Aquaman would look like,
yeah.
in terms of DC, um, but like Marvel are also shitting out as many films as they possibly can, just like Fox and Sony. They're not
Yeah.
all that different. The difference is creative team. And Iron Man 3, I think they went with the wrong creative team. And look where that got us. We now have a terrible Mandarin character that we now have to live with as being part of that trilogy. Um, and we
Yeah.
have to live with that third movie, you know. So I don't think there's Fox are never going to give it up. I think anyone that's still
Oh,
complaining about
no
that
way.
needs to, like, it's the same as Sony. They're never going to give up Spider-Man. They're ginormous cash cows for them. Um,
Yeah, it's like someone when I posted the trailer on my wall on Facebook, somebody left a comment saying, if this had Cyclops in it, then I think we could forgive them for what they've done
I saw that.
with X-Men 3. And my reply was, well, what's done is done. I won't ever forgive them for what they did. And Cyclops clearly isn't going to be a major character in this. So like, I'm not going to just forgive them. And he sort of took that as well. I think you need to, it's been so many years now. I think you need to kind of, it's water under the bridge. And for me, it's like, I've stopped caring. It's like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
My complaining is not going to change it. It's like these people who start petitions for like, oh, Ben Affleck is going to be the worst Batman. Let's make a petition. Like, oh yeah, that'll make a difference.
Yeah.
Like, millions of people signed that. Is he not going to be Batman now? No, he's still Batman. So well done. Um, petitions. I've seen petitions for, make the rights to X-Men go back to Marvel. And it's like, you really think Fox are going to read that and go, well, let's give them what they want? Like, bullshit. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and like you said, the X-Men make a lot of money for Fox, and they will continue to make X-Men films. And the only thing that would please me about if Fox were to say, you know what, we don't care about the X-Men anymore. Here you go, Marvel. If on the extremely 100% no chance in hell chance of that happening, um, the only thing I would really be excited about is Joss Whedon getting to do the X-Men.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, because Joss Whedon did my favorite X-Men run. So,
Yeah.
but apart from that, I, you know, I could care less about Marvel getting the rights back to X-Men.
Yeah. And it also means you have to start from the beginning again and all that kind of stuff. And but to be fair, the good thing about the X-Men at the start is that they are already around, um, depending on which kind of story you tell. Um, but I think the reason they did First Class in the first place was to kind of imply they're resetting the timeline to a degree. Obviously, it's the same universe, but now they're obviously making First Class, partly with the intention of saying, look, things are going to be different. We're waving goodbye to the old timeline. This is how it's going to be from now on. Which it looks like that's the way they're doing it. And like you said, I think it'll be fine if they do it like Star Trek did. Um, but yeah, I kind of forgot where I was going with that. um, but yeah, like kind of awkward segue, but in a lot of people have been asking, oh, is Wolverine going to get his metal claws back and all that kind of stuff. My answer is probably yes, because by the time they send him back in time, surely he will have had the claws by then. Um,
I read something Bryan Singer said about this being before Weapon X, and I find that hard to believe because
yeah,
I must have misread it or I took it out of context or I don't know, but I was pretty sure when he stabs that guy in that really awkward shot.
yeah.
That's the one shot of this trailer. I'm like, oh man, that was weird. But
He seems to
that
have
and that,
metal claws in that one.
yeah, he seems to have metal claws, exactly. And
Yeah,
that was the whole thing when, like, I had people say to me, like, "Oh my God, like, what are they going to do with Days of Future Past? He's not going to have metal claws." And it's like, well, he won't have metal claws in the future, but when they send him back, in his old body, he will. And it's funny, the notion of sending him back in time. Uh, I guess that's why Blink is in this film because one of her powers is teleportation, and
well, you could see it's a woman's hands that are
is
by
it?
Wolverine's head
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was or
when it
wasn't.
cuts to him
Yeah,
going ah,
yeah,
when it cuts to him going Jane,
yeah. No, Jane.
no Jane, no.
Uh, yeah, it's I. That's why Blink's in the film. So I was like, man, Blink, Warpath, like who's the other one?
Bishop.
Uh, Bishop, and there's someone else.
Cable, Warpath, Psylocke.
Psylocke's not there. No, it's another guy. Oh, who is it?
See, now I'm gonna have to
Oh,
look
it's
it up.
Sunspot. It's
Oh, that
Sunspot or
was it.
something, right? Yeah. So yeah, like I was like, why are these guys in this film? I don't get it. And I was really at some. Well, I mean, Bishop, I completely get, and I think Bishop should be there.
Yeah.
I also think Cable should be there, but it looks like he won't be. But
Can I just say,
uh, yeah,
ever since you uh, proposed that theory of uh, Cable having gone back in time to save Cyclops, that's just pissed me off because it's such a good idea that I knew they'd never do it. Um,
yeah,
but that
and
that 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 would have been like genius writing trick. So yeah, thank you for doing that.
yeah, I appreciate it. Like, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I was like, isn't that just the most obvious thing that they could do? And they're not smart enough to come up with it. And like I don't, I'm not suggesting that I'm smarter than everyone at Fox because I certainly don't claim to be. I'm just saying, like, to me, that is something that seems so obvious that they could easily do because it's like, where is Cyclops at the rest of X-Men 3? They don't find a body or nothing, and Jean says, "I think I killed him," and to me, they took him out and they didn't show him dead and didn't show him evaporate like Xavier because they wanted to bring him back. Isn't that
Yeah,
filmmaking 101? Like,
yeah,
and for me, it was like, well, Cable, like that makes sense, right?
yeah,
Cable, for Cable to exist, Scott needs to, do it with Madeline Pryor. So like if they did, my thought of it, it used to be if they did not necessarily X-Men 4, but a film set after X3 they could have Sinister as the lead villain, and that's where you can bring in Madeline Pryor and Cable. But, when I think about that, that is a very Cyclops central story. So, I guess that's my X-Men fall if I was given the chance. But for a little announcement, I'm going to be doing Shades at Night's version of X-Men Days of Future Past this week. So expect that trailer out this week. That's one I'm basically, if it was my film, doing it the way I would want to see it done, with Cyclops and Kitty Pryde with more focus, that's coming out this week. So look out for that.
Awesome. Well, I guess we've kind of been talking about X-Men for about a good hour now.
Yeah.
So where should we go? Should we go Thor? Should we go Arrow? Because I can't imagine Arrow's going to take us an hour to talk about.
Sure, yeah, we might as well get Arrow out of the way.
Yeah. Spoilers coming up for anyone that hasn't seen the latest episode, which was called. Just quickly go to the page to find out what it was called.
League of Assassins.
Yes, League of Assassins. Yes,
The most obvious name ever.
Yeah, so watch League of Assassins before watching this episode. Okay. Yep. Okay. You gone? Yep. Okay. Cool. Can I just say that line where she said you should be more mindful of your surroundings? I went, yay!
Yes, I was the same. I was the one line where I went, I'm glad, because I was like, man, I'm cool with them referencing like Dark Knight lines, or I should say Batman Begins lines. But if they do the whole character in deception, like I was like, well, I don't want all of that again. But be mindful of your surroundings was a line that I liked, since it was
Yeah.
it was the line that came back to bite Ra's al Ghul in the a-hole. So
Yeah. It's
like
funny. The before this episode aired, I was looking at the pictures that they post on the Big Arrow Facebook page, and people were saying the villain is going to be LOL, and and I just thought they're going to have to work really hard to not make it sound like they're saying LOL every single time.
Oh my God,
this guy. Hello.
Thank you. I thought at one point as a nickname, like, can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry. I thought you said, "Oh my God," and then there was a big silence. I thought, is something wrong?
Oh no, sorry, no. I must have just cut out. I had the same thing. I thought because at one point Felicity said the name, and I thought, for like, in her quirky way, she was calling him LOL. I was like, what the fuck is she talking about? I was trying to, like, what does she mean? I was like, oh shit, that's his name. And yeah, that's gosh, that's an unfortunate name. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta say, with this episode, I've been really, really high on this show. I think it's been just solid this season. And Stephen Amell was tweeting about how this was his favorite episode yet. And I kind of went into it thinking, like, man, I'm excited for this. And I don't want to say I was let down, but it was not the episode I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. It was it was an interesting episode, but it didn't really feel like a big didn't feel like it raised the bar at all. It just kind of felt like another episode that moved the plot forward, which isn't necessarily a problem. I mean, we're kind of in the middle of the start of the series, so you're going to be getting those kind of episodes. But yeah, I thought it was a decent episode. Yeah, I one of my favorite characters is Inspector Lance, and the guy who plays him, mixed with the people that are writing his character, are just doing a solid job.
Yeah.
Every single like the way that Sarah revealed herself, and the way that he didn't instantly go, Sarah, but he was saying, no, you're not Sarah, all that kind of stuff. Like, there's real care put into his character. He's a very realistic and relatable character, and yeah, I'm loving him so far. I'm really glad that they because I remember the second or third episode he wasn't anywhere to be seen, and I started getting worried that he was taken out of the series. But I'm really glad he's sticking around. He's one of the show's best characters.
Yeah, when you look at that episode with the Dollmaker, and actually the last three episodes, he has had some emotional stuff to do, with the Dollmaker episode, like he got to team up with Arrow, and that was really really cool to watch. And yep, the last week's episode, he was dealing with Laurel, and he had that line where he said, you know, she's turning into me, and that made me go, oh man, like it's so sad that he thinks of himself that way.
Yeah.
Even though it's true that he is an alcoholic, like it's just sad that he, you know, he's that fearful for her that, oh man, she's turning into me. Like he was afraid of that. That's sad. And
Yeah.
then with this one, man, like he was so good. I didn't think the writing matched his performance.
Really?
I thought he was so much better than what was being written for him. And I liked the scene that you just said. When they went more with it from there, I got more and more disappointed because I did not want her to reveal herself to him, and because I didn't see why she felt it that drastic to do so. Because in the end, she used him as a distraction, and that sort of that disappoints me. But the notion of like I thought what was going to happen was when she was like, "Dad, I'm here and I'm real," and they're hugging, and he's given this excellent performance. I thought from there she was going to like sedate him or something,
Oh,
and
that would have been a clever twist.
yeah, like, you know, and he wakes up and is like, you know, it was just a dream, and you know that way he's safe. She could keep an eye on him, and everything's cool, and he's not going outside, and it's all okay. Um, Instead, she reveals to the League of Assassins that, you know, this is her father, and there's that one guy that gets away and goes to tell Ra's al Ghul that, you know, she doesn't want us to fuck with her, but he now knows that. First of all, that guy will also know, and the League will know that Oliver Queen is Green Arrow, and that Officer Lance is Black Canary's father. So
Yeah.
I that's a little convoluted.
Well, to be fair, I think they already. Well, I think it was implied that they already knew that he was her dad before that.
Okay.
But yeah, like it was the scene that I liked. I thought that was a really nice sort of twist on it. Because the interesting thing with Arrow is you always think they're gonna spend about 5 annoying episodes, sort of building up this thing when you just want them to get on with it, and they are getting on with it, which is good.
Yeah.
Um, so when she just flat out revealed herself, I thought that, you know, I wasn't expecting that. And
Yeah.
that's
No, neither was I. Yeah.
and that's another reason I like Arrow. They're changing things from the source material as well. You know, Black Canary isn't Laurel, um, and um, and to be fair, I think that works in the show because I don't think anyone's really liking Laurel at the moment. But we'll get to that in a second. Um, but you know, I thought, you know, I thought that was a clever little twist on it. But yeah, like from then onwards, you know, her saying I'm an assassin and all that kind of stuff. And then him just being like, "You're still my daughter." Um, something about it just felt kind of like really quick. There should have been a bit of a because her revealing herself to him, that didn't uh, that didn't really change a lot. I mean, she could have dressed up as Black Canary, knocked him out, and moved him somewhere else. Instead, she
Yeah.
reveals to him, and then they're sitting in a restaurant, in
Yeah.
plain sight, when the whole idea was to get him out of the city. So I don't really know what the plan was. Um,
And
and
now
yeah,
she's torturing him more by the fact that he knows that she's still out there.
yeah, and like it's not fair on him. Um, and like there's a million signs that Green Arrow is Oliver. I don't know how I don't know how they'll have. I reckon Inspector Land. They'll probably say Inspector Lance knows. Um, they may have to because otherwise I'm going to be like, well, you're kind of stupid, Inspector, because it was kind of obvious. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like everyone in Gotham knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman except for Gordon. Like
yeah,
it's I guess I don't know. Um, in some ways I don't want him to know. Um, but I'm kind of they made a big deal in the last week's episode of Sarah saying if you know I reveal myself to my family, they'll never speak to you again. because you told them that you saw me die, and now she just revealed herself. So like, is Lance gonna be back to being fucking Oliver Queen? Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah. Well, the like she said that, and to me, and I just thought, well, not necessarily. Maybe he just thought she died, and turns out she didn't. Like everyone else, like he did see the boat sink. Like it wouldn't be obvious that he's keeping secrets. It would just be that he thought she was dead. That's not a big deal.
yeah,
But like you said, they didn't address it in the episode, so um, kind of feels like they forgot about it for that episode, and um, so yeah. But let's talk about Laurel, um, because
actually, I just want to say one more thing about Black Canary
go
before
ahead, go
we
ahead.
go to Laurel. Um, I think I would have liked this episode a whole lot more if I liked the actress more.
Oh, you're
Um,
not a fan?
no, I'm not. I don't think she's bad. I don't think she's very. She is not as good as the rest of the cast.
Right.
Um, I think like that, like Arrow's team. I think Felicity and Dig are these great characters, and I think the actors are perfectly cast. Obviously, we've spoken about Officer Lance. Obviously, Stephen Amell is brilliant, and
Yep.
um, I think Laurel plays her part really really well. And I don't. And he, also on the island, the actors, the actor who plays Slade, and this cast, it's a really good cast. Um, I think she's a little out of her league. I thought it was really awkward watching her scenes in the past, especially. Um, I don't knowing how that scene looked in the pilot with the on the boat. I just don't think she's as good as that actress on the pilot, who I've
Right.
seen in other things and know is good.
Yeah.
Um, and I wish they were able to get that actress because she's really good, and I think she's in another show. It's a shame they couldn't get her. But I guess when they did the pilot, they used this actress because they didn't expect to be bringing in Sarah at any point, but they
Yeah.
decided to go with this and they couldn't get the actress. So it was awkward watching that scene. I was much better off just seeing them do that small snippet flashback in the episode prior when they do the reveal. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah. The one thing I've noticed, she has like she does this weird bottom lip thing when she starts to cry. Um,
Yeah,
like
she doesn't close her mouth ever either.
yeah, she makes this kind of weird like face, that kind of weird I don't want to cry face, but I am crying face.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I very attractive woman. She looks great in the costume. I'm not gonna lie. Um,
yeah, she looks really cool as Black Canary. Yeah,
yeah, and I buy her attitude when she is Black Canary. She's very to the point. She's pretty badass. Um, but yeah, like it did certainly feel awkward when she met Diggle and Felicity, especially when Felicity like I really do like Felicity, but sometimes it is just like, okay, close your mouth. Like I get that she says before she thinks, but sometimes it is literally like, okay, you're starting to annoy me.
I mean, I guess not that we're meant to have the feeling of this is an annoying character, but I feel like we definitely are meant to have the feeling of okay, you need to stop talking now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was really awkward. I thought when Black Canary looked at her and said, "You're cute," because to me, this Black Canary she's a member of the League of Assassins, and I don't feel like this Black Canary would be amused by Felicity. Maybe the more time she spends with her, should be like, she'd be like, "Yeah, you're cute," but like, or whatever she said. But I don't know. When she first met her, I'd feel like she'd be like, okay, well, like these are the people in your operation, like not Dig, nothing wrong with what Dig said, but like,
Yeah,
like this is the person that keeps your secret. She can't shut up. Like,
yeah.
I just, yeah, I thought that was a little awkward.
Yeah. Um, well, I'll give you this. She's a hell of a lot better than Helena Bertinelli, the actress that plays her.
Man, I'm a fan of her. I know I'm the
Really?
only one. Yeah, but I'm a fan. Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, fairs, fairs. Um, okay, well, moving on.
I'll talk about her. Just I know she wasn't in the episode, but just
No, go
briefly.
ahead, go ahead.
I thought she got really good by her final episode.
I'll give you
I don't
that.
think the
I bought her in the. I'll give you that. I bought her in the latest episode she was in, where she kept just fucking with him.
yeah, like I don't think the writing was there in that first episode she was in. Then I thought she was better in the second, which Jeff Johns wrote, and um, I don't know. I guess an actress who in this brand new show where she's playing an established superhero, but the show hasn't been on the air yet when they start filming, and it's like I don't know. I think you bring in actress. I think if they were to introduce Huntress now, they probably would have got a different performance out of Jessica DeGale. Like,
Yeah.
um, so I will. And I'm not just saying this because she's an Australian. I honestly am not. I am a fan of what she did. I really liked her in her last episode, and I'd like to see her come back since this season is called. Well, I guess it was just the first episode. The Comic Con trailer made it seem like this whole season was, had the tagline of City. And they were doing Black Canary, and they're obviously going to do Flash later. I was like,
Yeah.
well, they can bring back Huntress at some point, and maybe they can do a Birds of Prey sort of thing with
Yeah.
Felicity in the Oracle role. But
That'd be cool.
I guess, yeah, I guess we'll see where they go with that.
And
She has her own show, so I guess we won't be seeing her back often.
Yeah. That's another thing I feel I have to mention. We spoke about a couple months back, and we mentioned, or maybe it was like a month, I can't remember, but we mentioned Arrow and the tone that it was going with and incorporating the Flash into that. And I said, I don't really think that's going to work very well
Yeah.
because this is a quite uber realistic world. It really doesn't help my opinion of that when Black Canary is using a gadget instead of having a genuine superpower,
Yeah.
which still, for me, works in the show. It works in the context of everything. It would have been just weird if suddenly this woman had powers.
Yeah.
I'm really not buying the concept of the Flash being in this series. It's just not. It's just not working in my head. They may pull it off, but it's not working with me so far.
I think the thing that will really determine whether or not they can do it is what they do with the Mazo. Um, the fact that we got Dr. Ivo in this episode, uh, and I guess also what they do with Brother Blood. He's injecting people with something. I guess we'll see, but
Yeah.
that's yeah.
My friend's been mentioning that apparently this particle accelerator has been mentioned every few episodes this season, and
It was mentioned in the first episode of this season. It wasn't really mentioned past that, but
all right, but
yeah, it was on the TV in the background.
yeah, I think a lot of people are theorizing that that's going to play a part of in Flash's origin.
They straight up said a particle accelerator is being developed in Star Labs at Central
Yeah.
City. Like they could not have made it more obvious.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. But yeah. So Laurel, uh, for instance, right? I will come out and say I much prefer this her at the moment as opposed to just giving her endless love triangle situations to deal with. I appreciate that they're trying to give her character, some genuine problems, and I can kind of see how someone who lost their sister, then lost their ex-boyfriend, and nearly got killed a dozen times, would eventually resort to drugs. Um, uh, but there's just something about she's coming off as just like she doesn't really feel necessary to the series. So it just kind of feels like every time it cuts to her, it's just like, all right, get on with it. We understand she has a drug problem, and they're gonna drag this out for a few episodes. So who cares?
Yeah, the fact I don't respond well to like characters who are like, "Oh, my life sucks, so I'm gonna turn to drugs." It's like, well, I just don't respond well to that. And
It
for
it is an
me,
easy character thing to just say, "Oh, now they take drugs because they're upset."
Yeah, it feels so cliche. Like everyone who falls on hard times in real life then automatically turns to drugs. It's like that's not how it works. And um, I kind of like the idea that I think they pushed in this episode of she didn't have a glass of alcohol with dinner with Oliver, but and she went inside and she took pills. So like the alcohol's been a gateway for her, and she's not like her father. She's actually kind of worse,
Yeah.
in that she's taking drugs. And I just I don't. Yeah, the dollmaker thing, I get that that's a traumatizing experience. They're going on and on about Sarah as if, they know she's back as well.
Yeah.
Like, they hardly mention her for an entire season. She's brought up sparingly, every 5 episodes or something. And now she's being brought up every episode because the show knows that she's in town. And it's like, it's been 6 years now since they lost Sarah. So why would Laurel be like, I lost Sarah too? And it's like, well, you got over that a while ago. So
Yeah. Ugh. Is she? A couple of people have said she's feeling like Lana Lang. I agree.
yeah, I see that. Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I don't think Lana Lang ever took drugs, but she is that annoying character that it's like. Um, though there was one moment that I really liked where Oliver walked her up to her room, and
I liked that scene too. Yeah.
yeah, and she made a reference about him, walking her up to her room, and he said, "Well, you know me," and his meaning was, I look out for my friends, and
Yeah.
she took it as, "Yeah, I'm here to get laid," and
Yeah.
she went to go and make out with him, and he backed away, and there was something about that moment that I really liked, A, because it shows how much Oliver has grown as a character, and
Yes.
B, it was just, you know, just he looks at himself higher, not but in an egotistical way, but he is the character now that would not just go and take advantage of Laurel, whereas the Oliver pre-Island would have done that.
Yeah.
And they've grown with their experiences since Tommy's death as well, where uh, he kind of went behind Tommy's back, and even though he told him, I can't be with her, you should be with her, and then he went and did it with her anyway. So he's even grown as a character since then,
Yeah.
and I appreciate character growth. So I really liked that moment, and it
Yeah.
also contributed to the downward spiral of Laurel. So A+, well done.
Yeah. And that was actually a more realistic sort of outcome. She's feeling very lonely, and Oliver walked her up to her room. What else would you do?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so there's good stuff there. It's just I'm questioning how they're like where it's gonna go, because all I can imagine is they're just gonna keep reminding us every episode that yep, she's still taking drugs, and eventually she'll have to admit it, and then she'll go to rehab, and by that point we'll just be like, why is Laurel still in the series?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that she will eventually become Black Canary.
Really?
Yeah, I still think it's going to be her. Like, the show has done this interesting thing where somebody else has been some of these major characters before the major characters become the comic book, persona that we know.
Right.
Like, Yao Fei was really the original Green Arrow, and they
Yeah.
even made a reference in this episode. Black Canary says, or Sarah says, "I remember when Shadow wore that." So I was like, well, there we go. Shadow's not dead. So that nice little reference there.
Yeah.
So, we have the Yao Fei family, as the original Green Arrows.
Yeah.
Uh, we had Wintergreen as the original Deathstroke. And I guess, my theory is that we are going to have Sarah as the original Black Canary, and then maybe Laurel eventually takes up the mantle in honor of her sister. Because I don't. They keep on reminding us that she can fight and she can take care of herself, and I feel like they keep on putting her in these Black Canary-esque outfits, and it's not blatantly obvious like the Clark Kent outfit of Smallville, but it's they keep on putting her in these black sleeveless shirts, and I'm like, God damn, they are really trying to push that. Like she will be Black Canary, right? I mean, she worked at
Yeah.
CNRI, just all this stuff they're pointing towards it. They seriously can't be telling us that Sarah is the one and only Black Canary. Like they have to be. I don't know. That's just how I take it.
Yeah. Uh, well, I guess that's kind of us with Arrow. Unless there's anything else you wanted to mention.
I guess the only other thing I have to mention is that uh, I obviously they'll do Ra's al Ghul. They made a reference to Talia in this episode as well. Um,
Must have missed that.
yeah, one of the league members said the daughter of Ra's al Ghul wants you to return, and I was like,
Right.
well, straight up, just Talia's running the league. Like, is that what it's so? I don't know. For the episode called League of Assassins, I was a little let down that there wasn't more in there about the League of Assassins. I kind of wanted this to be straight up. These are our villains of this season. This is what we're going to learn about them, and I didn't feel like we got that at all. And I didn't need like Ra's al Ghul to be in the episode. I want that to be a slow build and a slow reveal.
Yeah.
Um, anyone you'd cast as Ra's al Ghul?
Well, I can't use Liam Neeson again.
Apart from
Uh,
him, but yeah.
Someone as Ra's al Ghul. That's a tricky one. I can't really think of one at the moment. Yeah,
Um,
you gotta have one of those actors that has such a presence,
yeah,
um, and you've got to have an actor that understands that the character isn't just a plain evil guy. He has his own idea of what justice should be, and he's in his own twisted way trying to make the world a better place. And you've got to have an actor that understands that and knows how to perform that. Um, we can't just have some guy who's just um, the head of a league and he just wants to kill everyone, um, which
exactly.
you could easily take if you didn't know the character properly. Um, if you were just cast and they said we're going to start tomorrow, so I hope they choose the right guy. But
Yeah,
it is really interesting to see. They are flat out saying Ra's al Ghul, all that kind of stuff. They are just going all out there and saying like the Batman connection stuff. That's all fine with me because that's the kind of stuff you can do in this uber realistic universe. Um, and that I really like. They're not shy. They're not doing a Smallville and just saying, you know, what's a good example? Like the most you'd ever get is when Lois would say, "Oh, I just had a dream that some guy in a red cape was chasing after me. Oh, what a nightmare!" And that was the only line you'd get about Superman for the next 3 years. Like Arrow is flat out saying, "We are part of this bigger universe, and we're not gonna pretend like we're not."
yeah. Um, the guy I would cast is Jason Isaacs, who voiced Ra's al Ghul in Under the Red Hood, and is sort of, I guess, he's best known for being Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter films.
That'd be a great casting choice. Yeah, you're well chosen.
Thank you. Yeah, I think he'd be perfect. He's been my choice for years to be Mr. Sinister, and
Huh.
I doubt I'll get that. He's such a great uh, villainous actor, and
Yeah,
he's been cast as a lot of villains. There's been a lot of bad guys, but he when he voiced Ra's al Ghul, I was like, man, one of the great things about Under the Red Hood is that that cast all would have worked as live action counterparts
yes,
of those roles at some point.
yes,
Um, I guess not necessarily John DiMaggio as the Joker, but like, Neil Patrick Harris would have been a great Nightwing. Bruce Greenwood, as I've tried to display, would have been a great Batman.
yep,
And I think Jason Isaacs would have been a great Raz. Jensen Ackles would have been a great Jason Todd. So it's like he was one of those guys. I was like, he would have been perfect. but I just never thought we'd really get to see him, and because I didn't expect them to do Ra's al Ghul in the Batman reboot since we got him already. As the lead antagonist of one film, and we got him again in Rises. So the fact that we're getting him in Arrow, and he is, he's not doing anything now. His Awake show got cancelled last year. CW, try and get him.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
A lot of people think I look like Jensen Ackles, and I have no idea why. We look nothing alike.
Jensen Ackles, really?
Yeah, I'd like to look like Jensen Ackles.
Yes, that's so would I. Man, yeah, I don't really see that. I don't know. Maybe I'd need to see the right photo, but
Yeah, I'd like a few people have said that, and I've gone, what? The one I can the ones I get more, which is just what the fuck, is Woody from Toy Story.
Jesus Christ.
And then
Woody
I
has
get
a long face and a pointy nose. That makes no
I know.
sense.
And then the one that just everyone sort of goes, "Oh my god, you do," is the bad guy from Incredibles, Syndrome. So I
I
just
mean, I guess if you grew your hair really tall, like
yeah, I guess. Um, then you get Iceman from X-Men, like what's his name, Sean Ashmore or Aaron Ashmore.
yeah, the
Like
Ashmore twins. I can kind of see that.
yeah, I can kind of see it. My friend had said that for years, and no one else had said it, and then someone else said it like a week ago, and I told him, and he's like, "My life is complete." So so yeah, I guess that's something there. But anyway, that was a bit of a detour. I guess
Actually, I just while we're on the subject,
yeah, go on.
people. I've been given some weird people that I apparently look like. One day, when I was still in high school, somebody, well, actually, no, it was shown on TV one night, Independence Day, and the next day, a bunch of people came to school and they're like, "You know who you look like? Jeff Goldblum." It's like, what? I look nothing like Jeff Goldblum. And they're like, "No, you look like Jeff Goldblum." I'm like, I do not see that at all. And I don't, I mean, I still don't.
Maybe
I'm
maybe. I don't think you do, but then again, I didn't know you went back when that film came out, so I can't really tell you.
yeah, well,
Maybe
I mean,
maybe it was before you had you got plastic surgery.
oh yeah, before I had facial reconstructive surgery. Yeah, that's,
Yeah, that would explain
oh yeah, old me looked exactly like Jeff Goldblum.
it.
Um, old and everything. But yeah, that's a weird one. What else have I gotten? Uh, what's one? And this is before I guess I notoriously hated on him, but when like Doppelganger Month was like really popular on Facebook at one point, like I was trying to say to people like, who's my doppelganger apart from Jeff Goldblum? Like, who is there? And one of my friends was like, what's the guy from the Superman show? I was like, the Superman show? You mean like Lois and Clark? It's like Dean Cain, hell yeah. I don't think I look like him, but they're like, no, the young Superman show. I was like, oh God, Tom Welling.
The
And they're
Superboy
like,
show.
yeah, the Superboy show. And I was like, Smallville? And they're like, yeah, Smallville. I was like, I don't think I look anything like Tom Welling. And that was only one person that said that. And Tom Welling is a good-looking guy, so I guess I'll take that as a compliment. But like, I don't know, I don't see that. Uh, yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah,
I've been told other people, but they don't come to mind at the moment.
yeah. And of course as simply our voices, I know I get it, but I'm sure you do too. Being Australian, you probably get every Australian character in the world that people say you sound like. Because I get like Harry Potter, Doctor Who, any British character that people know. But yeah, very weird.
It's funny because I also get every British character that everybody knows because
Yeah, a lot of people
people
don't know that Australian accents and British accents aren't the same.
yeah, well, they have an idea of what an Australian accent is, and that is to them Crocodile Dundee,
Yeah.
which I do not sound like, and or like Steve Irwin and people like that. Like Hugh Jackman in the movie Australia. They get people think that, and when I don't sound like that, when I lived in America, the amount of times, and I still get this, as I work at the airport, I get a lot of people thinking that I am British, and you and I have talked about how I've a lot of people have said to me, "You sound just like Henry Cavill," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And you know, Henry Cavill's awesome. So once again, I'll take that as a compliment. But I don't know. It's just I find that I know I don't have a broad Australian accent, but when you are British, I mean, I think everyone can listen to this and know, yeah, they don't have the same accent. And I get, there are a lot of different accents in Britain, but a lot of different areas of England have different accents, but
Yeah.
I don't have the same accent as you, so yeah.
So Americans, take note.
Yes. I'm not Superman. It's okay, everybody.
And I'm not Syndrome. um, so yeah, I guess we've wrapped up on Arrow. Let's talk about Thor 2. Um,
Sure.
Again, it's kind of a given, but spoilers if you haven't seen Thor 2 yet. Shades and I both live in areas of the world where we get it first, so
Yes.
yippee.
I think it's just come out in America in terms of midnight, so it's
Yeah.
only been out for a few hours, and of course, theaters shut after a certain time, so I guess it's no one's watching it right now. So at the time of this recording, it's only the midnight screenings have only just happened in America.
Yeah.
So I
So
guess we
this
won't
is
say too much because there are people who haven't seen it, but yeah.
well. Should we say what we thought about it without spoilers, and then we'll lead into a spoiler-filled section because that will basically be the last thing we're going to be talking about.
I mean, we can talk spoilers straight off the bat if you like. I mean, I don't think people are going to take their time seeing this movie, but uh,
You know what?
either way, I don't mind.
You know what? Fuck it. Let's just go spoilers.
Sure.
Um. So just let's start right off the bat. What did you think of Thor 2?
I really, really loved it. I know people, straight off the bat, people said to me, but Malekith, and I was like, yeah, but I didn't go into this movie expecting Malekith to be the same style of villain as some of the other Marvel villains. I didn't expect him to be Loki from Thor 1. I knew that he was not going to be that big of a villain because he was nowhere to be seen in the trailers and that. Like he played such a small role in the advertising when it's Christopher freaking Eccleston, and
Yeah.
you'd think they'd try and push him. And he was used to enhance Thor's story, so I was fine with that. I thought this was a lot of fun. I definitely feel like I need to see it again. There was some science in this film that went a little over my head, and I'd like another viewing. Um, the sequence where they're going in and out of different realms, I thought was awesome, especially when they suddenly ended up in Jotunheim. I thought that was great. Um,
Yeah.
and they had some great cameos. Stan Lee's cameo made me laugh. The
Captain
Captain America
America.
character, yep, that's the
That
best
was
cameo since Wolverine in First Class.
yes. That really I clapped when I saw that bit in the theater.
Yeah, my audience just burst into laughter.
This film had a lot of laugh out loud moments,
It did, yeah.
and they were laugh out loud in a sense that it was an Iron Man 3 comedy where the whole film stopped where the whole film paused so that we could get an awkward laugh. It flowed through the character interactions, the character dialogue. Thor and Loki together, very funny.
Yeah.
With their drama, there is a bit of levity in there, and I'm really glad that they haven't lost sight of that. Um, and yeah, it's just nice to see that they've got that kind of. You can see the kind of because Joss Whedon helped out with a tiny bit, and you can kind of see that Whedon-esque thing running throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the characters were very well. Like we'll get to the villain in a second, but all the characters very well written. Again, cast was fantastic. Yeah, like you, I'm gonna have to watch this again because there are a couple parts that I'm a bit unsure about. I actually got up to pee at one bit and I missed the scene, which really pisses me off. I always hate myself for going to the toilet in the middle of a movie. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like overall, a pretty good movie. And I would go ahead and say um, this may have been better than this was probably better than the Wolverine.
Yeah, as of right now, it's my favorite of the superhero films this year. Um, I certainly had the most fun and enjoyed it the most.
Yes.
Um, like the com people have this misconception about me where and I got into somewhat of an argument the other day with Tyler Deadpoolzilla about this, where like we were talking about Brave and the Bold, Batman Brave and the Bold, and I was like, I don't really like Brave and the Bold, and we sort of talking about like, do I not like anything fun? And I was like, I do. What did we do? What do you think? And my thing is that it's not that I don't dislike comedy or or like humorous moments in serious films. It's that when it's jammed down your throat, and if you find Iron Man 3 funny, like that's your style of comedy, that's fine. It's not mine. With Thor, the Darcy character will annoy a lot of people, and people will say it wasn't funny, and that's their taste. I didn't like everything that was done with that character. There were some moments I thought were very funny with her. Other moments were just like, okay, you're there.
Yeah.
But for me, like the moment that I thought I wasn't sure. Actually, okay, I'll just come out and say like, so Loki dies at one point, and
What? What the
huh?
fuck, man?
So and then like two scenes later, Thor and Jane wind up at their place, and Thor hangs up his hammer, which got a huge laugh from my audience.
Oh yeah, got a huge one for mine as well.
Yeah. And Selvig says, "Oh, tell me your brother's not coming," and Thor goes, "No, he's dead." And he goes, "Oh, thank God." and,
Yes.
and then he says, "Oh, I mean, sorry for your loss." Like, Loki just died, and it was this very emotional moment, and they were already joking about it, and I thought that's really going to bother some people. But I thought it was such a genuinely funny moment because,
Yeah.
Loki did screw with this guy's brain. That yeah, that is what he would say.
Yeah.
So I was fine with it, and I thought it was genuinely funny. But I could see people having a problem with it. I thought the only reason people might not is if he's revealed to be not dead, and he wasn't. So it was all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. In terms of the comedy, I think the kind of thing that slightly throws people off about Darcy is that she is the funny character, whereas all the
Yeah.
other characters just kind of have that comedy come in naturally and it feels organic. Whereas every time Darcy comes in, you can kind of tell you might be rolling your eyes at one point. Um,
Yeah.
I do like I liked her in the first film. The first film, like I'm really glad this hasn't left. I'm really glad that the humor is still there, and it was still managing to be serious at the same time. Um, and the fish out of water comedy is still funny as hell. Um, so that's like him putting his hammer up. That was really
Yes.
funny.
That was genuinely very funny.
Like that's the kind of funny where in the Avengers when he puts his hand up and he's waiting for his hammer to smash through all the endless walls of the what do you call it, the helicarrier,
Hellcarrier, yeah.
just to reach him. Like that kind of comedy. It's very very sort of nice little touches, and that's all throughout this movie. So I
I,
really sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I thought it was funny as well in this film when he only had to fly across the entire universe to try and get to him.
Yes.
Like the hand was just like, oh fucking hell, and had to turn around. But I thought that was also really funny because
Yeah.
Mjolnir had, he had a little bit of character there as well, just being like, and the other way. It was like,
Yeah.
I did think it was funny when it flew past Darcy and she said meow meow because that's what she thinks it's called. I thought that was a funny gag that
That was
referencing
the only joke that made me cringe.
Oh really? Oh
It's
okay.
only because it was like Jane, Darcy, and that bit was like kind of funny, and then it went past it. Mia Mia. I didn't actually catch the Mia Mia bit because like that's from the first movie as well, which that was funny.
Yeah, in the first
Which he just
film,
goes Mia Mia. What's Mia Mia?
yeah, because he says, "I need to get some meal there."
Yeah,
He
that
goes,
was the
"What's
only
meow
like
meow?"
that was the only line that made me cringe. But like you said, like the hammer kind of had its own sort of personality. Um,
Yeah.
I gotta say, this film looks fantastic. You know,
Oh yeah.
great set pieces, fantastic visual effects. Like I don't care if Asgard is a CGI creation. How else are you going to create it? It still looks magical, fantastical, and once they're in rooms, sometimes those rooms are real, sometimes they're not. The point is, I can't tell. I'm convinced that it's
Yeah.
there, and that's the important thing about visual effects. So sue me. I like them, um, and you
I
know, everything. I was sold on everything. So yeah,
Yeah, to your point, I think what this film has over the first film was that so much of this was set on Asgard.
yeah.
And
That
I
was a
think
common
that
complaint from a lot of people from the first film. You know, no,
it was, yeah, and they certainly listened to that without ignoring the human stuff and everything on Earth. Those Earth characters were far more in the background this time, and that worked better that way.
yeah.
Um, I still don't quite get what was going on with Selvig. I don't think Loki being in his head was enough of an explanation because I certainly doubt Hawkeye is going to be acting like this when we see him next. Um,
Yeah,
so I guess we'll see. But
yeah,
I
that was a bit weird.
like the first time we saw him like naked and all that. What the hell? And it was really
Yeah,
funny. But then when we didn't get an actual explanation for it, I went, well. I don't quite understand. So
yeah, like
maybe I missed something, but
when he said
like he had that throwaway line where he said, "Try having a god mess around in your head," and I was like, well, does that mean Hawkeye is also like running around without his pants on in Shield? Like,
swinging his arrow everywhere. Um, but like with that line that he says where he goes, "Oh, it's nice to know that the world is as strange as you are," and then he's instantly in normal clothes and he's geared up and they're walking down that library and he's all normal again, and it was like, what's going on?
yeah,
A bit like obviously it was done for laughs and it was kind of to give him something to do in the background, but it and I guess it was their way of saying yes, he was in the Avengers. Yes, Loki fucked with his mind more so than anyone else, I guess. But like whatever. Fortunately, the stuff that they did was still funny, so I'm able to forgive that if it is a flaw. Um, I'll go ahead and say that a lot of people are saying Tom Hiddleston is fantastic, Tom Hiddleston is perfect, blah blah blah. Chris Hemsworth, he is also fantastic.
yeah,
He has to be more to the point than Loki is. He has to have this majestic, good old fashioned Shakespearean attitude, and he still has to be funny in a modern world. That's a very tricky thing to achieve, and he does it with absolute brilliance. Real conviction. I think he's fantastic. I can't really imagine anyone else playing Thor now.
I'm the same. I think Thor is one of the best. Is probably the best cast of the like this part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the best
Yeah,
cast of of the different franchises within the cinematic universe. You got the perfect guy playing Thor, the perfect guy playing Loki, the perfect guy playing Odin. Like, it's so well cast. Heimdall and the Warriors 3 and Sif. Like, you got these really good actors in these roles. And besides Natalie Portman and Anthony Hopkins, it was largely an unknown cast when they did Thor 1.
yeah,
And Chris Hemsworth, fellow Australian, by no means a big name even out here. He was in Home and Away. Even I was in Home and Away. That does not guarantee you success. So uh, it's interesting. I absolutely agree. He's the perfect guy for this role, and I certainly wasn't thinking that when he was originally cast. He was somewhat of like a pretty boy and nowhere near in the shape he is now.
yeah,
He has transformed himself and he is perfect.
yeah,
And I love the fact that now he's getting the opportunity to do some other stuff. He's got Rush coming out later in the year. There's already Oscar talk for that movie, so you know, I'm as someone who's followed his career, very proud of him. He's doing great.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that he after his contract was up with Home and Away that he wanted to go overseas and try and make it, and he got in Star Trek as Captain Kirk's dad, and he's really been able to, some of it's right place, right time, but it's also a hell of a lot of talent, and he's the perfect guy for the role. So well done, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, definitely. So I just looked you up on Google, and
Oh God.
was that you as a schoolboy on
Yes, yeah, that's me in the show. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to watch that. But yeah, like
No one listening to this is allowed to go and look for it. So.
um, it's funny. There's two sort of actor pictures right next to each other. You've got one where you're smiling and you look adorable, and then there's one where you just look seriously pissed off, and they're right next to each other. Oh,
yeah, my headshots from back in the day. Yeah, the serious one. I believe it. Coolio says is me as Zod. So.
But yes,
Yeah.
sorry, took a detour there. So when you said I was on Home and Away, I was like, what? I have to go search that shit up.
Yeah, I was not a cast member. In terms of like I was not a season member of the cast. I was a reoccurring guest. But yeah, it's
That's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, one thing I was going to mention about the kind of humor in Thor 2. I know you're not a big Star Wars guy, but one of the it was the same kind of comedy where the most fun comes from the banter between the characters, and that's part of the reason I love the original Star Wars films, because all the characters have this very funny, organic, realistic banter between them all, and it makes the whole adventure really fun and interesting.
Yeah.
And it's the same in Thor 2. My main criticisms, again, we'll get to the villain in a second, but I feel like, because I haven't heard anyone else mention this, so maybe I'm on my own. I I kind of thought Jane was a bit boring in this one. She felt to be like a confused old man who's visiting his grandson at work, and he's just sort of following him around while he does his work, and he's just trying to understand all the complicated things that are happening. Like the ether never really got that big an explanation as to what it actually is, aside from what it allows you to do.
Yeah.
And then it used her as a host body, so like it kind of felt like she was a bit contrived to sort of be so involved in it. Something about it. I really feel like he should be with Sif, because I like her a lot more.
I like that they referenced that as well. Like,
Yeah.
Odin straight up said, "You got this hot piece of ass right in front of you. What are you doing?" So I guess I shouldn't say he straight up said, because he didn't straight up say that, but he
Yo,
basically
Thor.
implied. So
Yo,
yeah,
Thor, you got the hot piece of ass right in front of you, man.
yes, Black Odin. And why didn't we get that? Why was Heimdall the black character? Come on.
But yeah, so uh, part of the reason is because I fancy the actress who plays Sif, but she's very badass. I loved the action sequence where they're all fighting, and he comes in and she says, "I've got this under control." He says, "Is that why everything's on fire?"
Yeah.
Again, great banter, and I can imagine them being a really cool, kick-ass couple. Um, and I get that you kind of have to have Jane in there to incorporate that sort of human Earth element into it. Um, but like we didn't really get a real conclusion at the end of the film. It felt again like with her and Thor. It felt again like oh, maybe he'll come back, maybe he won't. I didn't stick around for the second after credit sequence. Apparently he
Yeah.
comes back. But in terms of in terms of the end of the film itself, it was just like, oh, is he coming back? Oh, I don't know. And it was a bit like, what's really going on? So I slightly confused and slightly just like, I'm not too sold on the romance. I liked it in the first one because genuinely, she was very proactive. She was helping him out, and they got a lot of screen time together. This time it was just like, she was just sort of following everyone around. That was how it came off to me anyway. I do like Natalie Portman; she's a very good actress. Jane as a character, I like her. I like her in the comics, and I really liked her in Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Um, for the little time that she was there. Um, and yeah, something about her. But what did you think of Jane? Because I'm just babbling now.
Um, if I were a betting man, I would have bet money going into this film that she was going to get killed off. There was just something about I just did not think she was going to survive this movie. And especially when Odin made reference to Sif being perfect for him, I thought, well, here we go. They're setting it up, and they didn't do that, which I'm fine with. I really thought they were going to kill her off. There was rumors early on in the production that Natalie Portman was displeased, and so part of it stems from there. They didn't do that. That's fine. But yeah, I really like Natalie Portman. I think Natalie Portman is great. She's just one of the best actresses around. Um, whether it's Black Swan or V for Vendetta or a lot of the films that she's done, Leon the Professional, way back then, her first film, you could tell she was special. And she's always shown great maturity as an actress, and I really enjoy watching her work. Jane definitely gets pushed to the side in this film. And uh, I understand why. Um, she was a lot more. She was a device in this film more than she was a character, which is a
Yeah.
little disappointing. But if it meant that we got to focus on some other characters in Asgard, I was cool with it. But in saying that, like the Warriors 3 kind of they're there and they don't get to do a whole lot. Like Hogan, gets he stays, on his where he comes from very early on. And the Punisher and Chuck, they don't stay around for much longer either. So
Yeah, they weren't around all that much, but I actually liked them more than I did in the first one, mainly because in the first one they felt like cartoon characters. Um, like for instance when because they were pretty cool, but like when there's this one shot that I can remember from the first film, and I haven't seen the film in a while, but this one shot I can remember where they finally find Thor, and you've got that tilted. Of course, the whole
oh
film
man.
has Dutch angles, but it's that camera shot that goes in on them, and they're behind the glass, and they're all like, "Hi, Thor, we're here." And it's like really sort of like funny and like, oh look, they're dressed like Greek gods, and all that like Norse gods and all that kind of stuff, and it did just feel a bit like sort of goofy, and that was kind of comedic element. But in this, they felt much more like real people, and they were, they genuine characters. I really liked how you still get this sense that they're all great friends, helping each other out. Um, and yeah, I would have liked to have seen Sif do a little bit more. And they even went to the effort to put in a couple of shots of her giving evil eyes to Jane, showing that she's a bit jealous.
Oh yeah, that was
Um,
very interesting.
yeah, a slight more. I'm pleased that they didn't actually like do an annoying love triangle thing, but more just imply that she fancies Thor. That I'm fine with. Um,
Yeah.
but like you said about Jane possibly dying, the annoying thing about these, I keep getting annoyed with. Like for instance, you had Star Trek Into Darkness and you had Thor: The Dark World, two titles that both had dark in them. So that's kind of like the thing this year. Last year it was Rise. Last year it was Rise. Um, this year,
Rise will never not be a thing, though. Unfortunately, there's too many
yeah,
films that have Rise in the title.
yeah. but I keep expecting and I keep wanting these films to have really dark endings, to leave the characters in a place where they didn't win, and they've grown from this experience, they become more mature, and it sets things up to get really interesting next time. But the annoying thing about the Marvel movies is that you can't really have much of a continuous story through a trilogy because you keep putting these Avengers movies in the middle. Um, so you so like in my head, it would have been really great if they'd killed Jane off at the end, and Thor was left in this place where it's like, oh my god, he really got screwed over this time. Um,
Yeah.
and then the third film, he'd, I don't want to say rise up again, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
I always like that part of trilogies. I'm always in support of that more so than just three standalone films, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Um, but that's mainly because I'm a big fan of that kind of, the second act of the second act of a story is when everything goes to shit, and
Yeah.
um, and that's always the most interesting part. Um, Usually, especially with like a trilogy, like the I'm gonna use the example again, but the original Star Wars trilogy, The Empire Strikes Back is when everything goes to shit. They don't win at the end, and the themes are a lot more mature. It's a darker story. Darker doesn't necessarily equal better, but it's using that to sort of wake the characters up, and it has a realistic turnout, and it's just an organic flow of the characters growing into more mature people, and I I just would have preferred it if the ending was a bit darker, but mainly because I really thought that was going to happen with Star Trek Into Darkness, and then at the end they just contrived everything to get back to normal, really quickly. Um, so that's really just my personal problem. Um, and like Marvel have teased twice now that the love interest was gonna die, and she didn't.
Oh wow, you're right. Yeah, I didn't think of it
Like
like that.
they did it with Pepper Potts, and then they did it with Natalie Portman. And the next time they do it, I'm just not gonna buy it.
Yeah, when they tease that Black Widow is going to get killed off in Captain America, it's going to be like, well, we know she's alive.
Yeah, and for the
It's
fact that she's Black Widow as well, like yeah, right.
yes. Um, yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. Man, I had a point. I can't remember what it was. Well, until I remember that, we had some new cast members in this. We had Zachary Levi as Fandral,
Yes, I
replacing
yeah,
the I think Joshua Dallas was the actor's name.
yeah.
And me being a big fan of Chuck, I was really happy to see him. I thought he did really well. So yeah, I liked his performance. He only had a little bit to do.
Yeah.
Um, the Warriors 3 characters I really enjoy. Oh, I was going to say earlier, I actually really love that moment where when Thor looks up and they're all in the window. They say, Thor, it's us. And then Thor looks up and they are completely frozen. And there's something about it that is so goofy that I just think it's the greatest thing ever. Just I don't know why they decided to be frozen in this moment, or why Kenneth Branagh thought, it'd be funny if they were all completely still. But there's something about it that just it cracks me up every time I see it.
I can
Um,
see why it'd be funny. Um,
yeah, like
and it is funny.
yeah,
It is just that as characters on their own in that film, that just to me they came off as just very goofy, but they were funny. I'll give you that.
yeah. But yeah, so like I like the Warriors 3 in this. They had some stuff to do in the story in terms of like really protecting Thor and continuing what they set up in that respect in the first film. And yeah, it was cool seeing them. Um, I unfortunately might have to go sort of soon, so let's jump real quick to the after credit scene. As you said, there is a second after credit scene. I stuck around for it. What happens is they're all sitting there eating breakfast, and then Thor, or I think they might be washing up, and like washing up the dishes, and then a big flash of light happens outside, and Thor appears, and he and Jane they hug and they kiss and they're back together, and then we see the giant monster from Jotunheim just running around in the background. They clearly forgot about him.
Right.
That made me laugh. Um, but the first after credit scene, which is after the titles,
I saw the first
um,
one. Yeah.
yeah. So the
Was that meant to be
collector,
Thanos?
uh,
Because it's not
oh,
the same actor.
oh no, 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 that was Benicio del Toro as the collector.
There's a right because he's yeah. I recognized the actor and I thought I remember seeing him in some kind of casting news. Is that the guy they cast as Thanos? Um,
No, he's
that's
not
definitely the
Thanos.
collector. Right. Okay. All caught up.
Yeah. But clearly they were giving him the Infinity Gauntlet, so they are referencing Thanos.
Well,
So,
I don't know if they're giving him if they gave him the gauntlet, but they gave him one of the gemstones.
oh, okay. I thought they straight up said Infinity something.
Well, he said one down,
Okay, right. I see.
and there was like a red glow coming from the box, and also the box was like tiny. I don't think you would have been able to fit the gauntlet in there. Um,
The gauntlet was in the background in Thor 1,
yeah,
and it was just a straight up glove. So I
yeah,
thought it could be that small, but I mean, I guess if Thanos wears it, it has to be freaking huge. So yeah, you're right.
yeah. Um, but yeah, last minute, the villain for me, very poor. I'm a big fan of Christopher Eccleston, so I was admittedly quite excited to see him. I think it was a bit underused. Um, and to be fair, he's not the same villain as Loki. He's very to the point. He's very, he doesn't fuck around. But like, there were almost no scenes where he just spoke to Thor. It just kind of felt like quick, get to the next plot point with it, and it was just like the villain is motivating him to go on this really personal revenge thing, and we don't really know the villain. And
Yeah,
if it weren't such a personal story, like if it weren't such a personal fight for Thor and Loki, then I would have been okay with it. But the fact that they did go out of the way to say, this is a fight, we must avenge Mother and all that kind of stuff, and I and then they killed him off at the end, and it was very generic villain plot. He tried like someone said to me, "Oh, what's the villain like?" And I basically just said, "He tries and he loses."
yes,
That's it. Um,
yeah,
but
that's exactly
ov-
right. Yeah.
but overall, really entertaining film. I enjoyed it despite its flaws. And yeah, I will have to see it again to further develop my opinion of the film. Um, but I think it's safe to say this one gets a pass. This one gets a thumbs up from me.
Big thumbs up from me as well. Really enjoyed it. Like you said, want to see it again. Um, I had a lot of fun watching it, and I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed where the characters went. There was some very heavy emotional stuff in there as well. Loki's apparent death was uh, it was very sad to watch. I
Yeah,
mean, whether or not people get into that because they think he's dead or not, it will be interesting. I could see people saying, well, I didn't find that scene emotional because I knew he wasn't dead. But I don't think you do know that for sure. That's the thing. I
yeah,
certainly didn't expect him to be Odin at the end. Where Odin is, where the hell is he?
yeah.
That
I was wondering if it's implied that he killed him.
I mean, it's implied that he's somewhere.
Um,
Yeah, I'd like to know that as well. Maybe
maybe he's in the
because
hell,
we've
the evil
established that
water.
Loki can disguise people. Like he disguises Thor as Sif at one point, which I thought was funny.
Yeah,
He's like, "Oh, brother, you look ravishing." Then she speaks with Chris Hemsworth's voice, um, and then he turns into Captain America, and it's great. But
yeah.
so maybe
America.
in the prison, there'll be somebody in Thor 3 saying, "I'm Odin, God damn it!" And it's it looks like someone else. So
I'm Anthony Hopkins. Let me out.
I was in the Elephant Man. Um,
um,
yeah, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, very, very final thing. The score was fantastic. I loved it. I've been listening to it since it came out.
Oh, cool.
Anyone that hasn't heard the score, probably wait till you see it in the film because it makes it all the more epic. Um, I like the new Marvel Studios intro. Um,
Oh
just
yeah, that was the best.
yeah, that
That was cool.
and that piece of music was actually written for the it was written as part of the music theme, as part of the movie theme. because it had that kind of da 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 da, oh, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, really nice, great score. But yeah, uh, that pretty much. Sorry, everyone, we had to kind of power on through that, but it's because we wanted to make sure we mention everything. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Again, Shades, I had a lot of fun. I don't think there's, I don't think there's any time that we'll do a podcast and I'll just be like, ugh, this is so boring. We've always got brand new
No.
things to say. We have to talk about every single thing on the planet. I love it.
Yeah, this is becoming kind of a monthly event. Us coming
Yeah,
together. So yeah, looking forward to doing it next time, man. Fun as always.
awesome. Well, everyone, thanks for listening. I'm Sam,
And I'm Shades.
and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
See ya.